Good morning. I'm Dr. Srihari, Assistant Professor. So today's topic is prostate. Under prostate, we'll be reading about the anatomy, physiology, and pathology. So the overview is anatomy, surface, lobes, relations, size, and weight. Physiology, we have functions and the prostate-specific antigen, and the pathology. Pathology, we have the benign prostatic hyperplasia, prostatitis, acute and chronic, prostatic abscess, bladder outlet obstruction, and CA prostate. Coming to the anatomy, in the definition, prostate is a fibromucoglandular structure situated between the neck of bladder and external urethral sphincter, surrounding the prostatic urethra. It is conical in shape. It has three surfaces: the anterior, posterior, and true inferior lateral surfaces. It has five lobes: anterior, posterior, median, and two lateral surfaces. So the size is about 3 centimeter vertically, 4 centimeter transversely at base, and about 2 centimeter anteroposteriorly. It weighs around 15 to 20 grams. We can take a note here. Adenoma usually occurs in the medial and lateral lobes. It never occurs in anterior and posterior because they are mainly for fibromuscular tissue and devoid of glandular structures. Coming to the shape and location, this is the in relation of the prostate with the surrounding structures. At the base of the bladder, neck of bladder, and the inferior part is in relation to the pelvic floor. So in the first picture we have the median lobe and the anterior lobe, the ejaculatory duct entering into the prostate. The lateral lobes and prostatic ducts are in relation like this, and in the transverse section you can see the prostatic urethra. The prostatic gland proper, the urethral glands, prostatic urethra, and submucosal glands are placed in such relations. In this picture, we can see the seminal vesicle, the vas deferens entering and forming the ejaculatory ducts into the prostatic urethra. You can see the peripheral zone, central zone, and transitional zone, and the membranous urethra. The cross section, we can see the relationship of prostatic urethra with the bladder, the floor of the pelvis, that's the urogenital diaphragm. We can see the openings of the prostatic glands. There's a prostatic sinus, prostatic utricle, and urethral crest. You can see the capsule of the prostate. In the lateral section, you can see the anterior and posterior lobe, the ejaculatory duct entering into prostatic urethra, and the zones of the prostate. Same picture. So, prostate is related to the two capsules and one fascia behind. True capsule formed by the condensation of the prostate at periphery. False capsule formed by the visceral layer of the pelvic fascia. The prostatic venous plexus lies between these two capsules. Now there is third of surgical importance, formed by the non-adematous tissue of the prostate, which is pushed by the hypertrophic gland into the periphery, and the fascia is behind the prostate. So in the relations, urethra is divided into three parts: the prostatic urethra, which is widest and most dilatable part; membranous urethra, shortest and least dilatable part; and the spongy urethra. There are two sphincters: internal sphincter, sphincter vesicae at the neck of the bladder, external sphincter or the sphincter urethrae. So base, in relations, at the base we have the neck of bladder, inferiorly there is external urethral sphincter, posteriorly there is Donavilus fascia, laterally there is levator ani forming the base of the pelvic floor. It is supplied by the internal iliac artery, inferior vesicle and middle rectal arteries. Venous drainage, it is via the posterior venous plexus, but some drainage also occurs through the vertebral plexus. which is responsible for the hematogenous spread of the CA prostate to the bones of the vertebra. Lymphatic drainage is by the internal iliac lymph node. Coming to the hormone and the physiology, the testicular hormone regulates the prostate. Testosterone is secreted by the Leydig cells of the testis. In the absence of both testis and the testicular hormones, that is testosterone, the prostate fails to develop or grow, which is very important in the treatment of CA prostate. The prostate secretes a specific fluid, prostatic fluid, which provides 10 to 20% volume of the ejaculation. It contains the prostaglandin enzymes and acid phosphatase. It is antibacterial property which helps to prevent UTI. Prostate also secretes a glycoproteinous fluid which is known as a prostate specific antigen. This actually liquefies the semen. So, what is the normal value? It should be less than 4 nanomole per millimeter. In BPH, it is 4 to 8. And there's a crux between 9 to 10, which can be both BPH and CA prostate. More than 10, it's always suggestive of CA prostate. So, coming to BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia is a histological pattern of the prostate characterized by proliferation of smooth muscles and epithelial cells within the prostatic transition zone. This may lead to prostatic enlargement. It is considered as a normal part of aging in men and is hormonally dependent on testosterone and DHT production. 50% of men develop BPH by age of 60 years and 90% by age of 85 years. It is involuntary hyperplasia due to disturbance of the ratio and quantity of circulating androgens and estrogens. BPH is benign neoplasm, also called as fibromyoadenoma. With age, testosterone level drops slowly, but fall of estrogen level is not equal. So, prostate enlarges through intermediate peptide growth factor. BPH arises from submucosal glands of the periurethral transition zone with stromal proliferation and adenosis. It eventually compresses the peripheral zone and enlarges as a lateral lobe. So, these are the main causes in benign prostatic hyperplasia. BPH arising from subcervical glands of central zone enlarges as middle lobe, projecting up into the bladder. Common symptoms of enlarged prostate: you have weak urine stream, difficulty of starting of urination, stopping and starting while urinating, dribbling at the end of urination, straining while urinating, increased frequency of urination at night. This urgency, if frequency is increased, not being able to urinate, then hematuria, then UTIs. So we have the IPSS score. In the IPSS score, we have incomplete emptying, frequency, intermittency, urgency, and weak stream and straining, and nocturia. So we ask the patient to score according to this chart, and then we have mild, moderate, and severe. See, we have to examine what is the quality of life due to the urinary symptoms. So then if you are to spend the rest of your life with urinary condition just the way it is, how would you feel about it? This scoring helps in the requirement of surgery or treatment. So in per rectal examination, we can see the size. If upper pole is easily reachable, either with difficulty or not reachable, gives us this sign. Then we have the consistency: rubber, soft, firm, hard in CA prostate. The rectal mucosa is gliding or fixed in against CA prostate. Surface is smooth and nodular. Tenderness, if tenderness is present, we can always think of acute conditions, inflammatory conditions. And the median sulcus is prominent, palpable, obliterated. So grading of pH, VPH by just per rectal examination. Grade 1 upper pole easily reachable, grade 2 upper pole cannot be reached or it can be reached with difficulty. Grade 3 is not reachable at all. By weight, as I told you earlier, 15 to 20 grams is normal. So grade 1 up to 25, grade 2 up to 50, grade 3 up to 70 gram, grade 4 up to 80 gram, and grade 5 is more than 80 grams. So we should see the initial presentation. So typical man with LUTS secondary to BPH. LUTS is lower urinary tract syndromes. Okay. So that comes as there's no surgical indications. If there is mild symptoms, small, even if mild symptoms, it does not consider the small or large prostate. So there's watchful. You need to do watchful waiting for that. Then if there is moderate and severe symptoms, with moderate and severe symptoms, there's no significant bother. Small prostate, we can observe. Large prostate, we should consider waiting or consider 5 alpha reductase therapy. That is conservative, not surgical. Moderate severe symptoms, we have small prostate. We can do the alpha blocker therapy or surgical option. Large prostate, there's combination of therapy, usually surgical and alpha blocker or alpha reductase. What happens due to BPH? This enlargement of prostatic urethra, exaggeration of normal posterior curvature of the prostatic urethra. The urethra gets compressed laterally, reducing it to an anterior posterior slit, and the changes in the urinary burden. Due to the obstruction in the flow, there is compensatory hypertrophy of the vesical retrosal muscles. There is trabeculations of the bladder wall, hypertrophy at trigone, formation of diverticuli, formation of pool of residual urine, causing cystitis and calculus. Changes in the ureters and kidneys. Severe obstruction causes hydroureter, hydronephrosis. There's vesicoureteric reflex is increased, acute and chronic, which may cause pyelonephritis in a later stage. So we can see the changes in early BPH. We can see the dilatation, enlargement of prostate starts to press on the and constricts the urethra, making it anterior posterior slit. Moderate BPH, urethra becomes narrowed gradually. In advanced stages, because of the increased pressure in the bladder, you can see a pouch of diverticulum, thickened bladder wall. Then you can, because of the urine, they have the bladder stone causing cystitis. See again a better picture of the complications of the BPH. So coming to prostatitis, there's types of prostatitis, acute or chronic. Acute prostatitis causes due to any instrumentation like catheterization, dilatation, then ascending infection from below, hematogenous rarely, descending infection from above is also rare. Most common bacteria are E. coli, Klebsiella, Proteus, Staphylococcus and Streptococcus faecalis and Gonococcus. Clinical features is pain, increased frequency, fevers with chills and rigors, retention of urine. There's always perineal heaviness, pain on defecation. Tender on rectal examination, tenderness, initial fraction of urine is turbid, which is sent for culture and sensitivity. Chronic prostatitis, mainly caused by E. coli, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Trichomonas, chlamydia. It's always associated with posterior urethritis, epididymitis. There's pain in the perineum, rectum, low back, leg pain, fever, sexual dysfunction, Per rectal examination shows tender prostate. Prostatic fluid by prostatic massage is sent for pus culture, and you can see pus cells more than 15 per hyperfiltrate. Coming to the next subtopic, we have prostatic abscess. It is in infection, there is suppuration and pus formation in the prostate gland. The presentation is always with fever, rigors associated with any condition in abscess, perineal pain, urinary disturbance, and tenderness. Soft fluctuant swelling in the prostate on rectal examination. Often presentation may be of urinary retention. There's always increase in total count. Urine will show pus cells. Ultrasound is diagnostic. Ultrasound is often done over perineum also. We can rarely ask for transrectal ultrasound. Usually the treatment is with antibiotics, which is culture sensitive. We can do ultrasound guided aspiration transperineally in a lithotomy position. There's always transperineal incision and drainage as a last resource. If there is retention, we can do SPC, that is suprapubic cystostomy, temporary drainage of urine. And after drainage of pus, antibiotics are needed for longer period of 6 weeks to prevent recurrent infections. Then we come to bladder outlet obstruction. It is low urinary flow rate with presence of high voiding pressure. It is an urodynamically confirmed entity. It is diagnosed with urodynamic pressure flow study. Flow rate will be less than 10 milliliter per second with voiding pressure more than 80 centimeter of water. Eventually, it causes dead to SAR insufficiency because of significant residual volume. The causes, we have multiple causes. We have BPH, brain and prostatic hyperplasia, bladder neck hypertrophy or stenosis, carcinoma prostate, urethral stricture, functional bladder neck obstruction. What does it cause? It causes acute retention of urine. Over time, it turns into chronic retention of urine, impaired bladder emptying, uremia, infection, calculus formation, hematuria. What are the investigations we do? Ultrasounds, renal function stents, IVU, PSA are the investigations. Management is treating the cause of the cystoscopic bladder neck incision, urethrotomy, TURP, etc. So it's basically treating the causes of bladder artery obstruction. Now coming to our last topic, CA prostate. It is the most common malignant tumor in men over 65 years. Carcinoma prostate occurs in peripheral zone in prostatic gland that is commonly in the posterior lobe. So prostatectomy for BPH does not confer protection against development of CA prostate. Incidence of prostate cancer is over 70% in about 80-year-old man. We have types. In types, we have microscopically latent tumors incidentally found either by TURP or by PSA estimation, early localized carcinoma, advanced local prostatic carcinoma, metastatic carcinoma usually into the bone or other organs. Histologically, it is an adenocarcinoma, thus loss of myoepithelial cell layer, which normally surrounds the prostatic gland, thus the Gleason glands. Glands here appear in conference. Grading of carcinoma is based on the dedifferentiation as proposed by Gleason scoring. So we can staging of carcinoma can be diagnosed by occult, diagnosed after investigation due to suspicion. Stage 1 tumor confined to prostate as a local nodule. Then there is stage 2 tumor involving the capsule or diffuse type. Stage 3 tumor involving seminal vesicle. Stage 4 extension into adjacent tissue. So in early stages we can do prostatectomy or in TURP, but with later stages there is radical need for radical prostatectomy with lymph node clearance, and in metastatic where it is extended peripherally, we can think about chemical orchidectomy, chemical castration or surgical. which reduces the testosterone levels and stops the malignancy. Right. Thank you.